Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today for our third session of Cracking the Code. We launched this last year with our partners uAfrica to give everyone the opportunity to get together and learn the ins and outs of e-commerce through easy and consumable discussions with thought leaders in the industries. Now, this may be a lot of awesome information and you may want to rehash some of their answers, so don't worry, there will be a recording made available for you afterwards that you can refer back to at any time. And during the webinar, please feel free to use the chat function. You can locate it on the right-hand side of your screen, and you can send through any comments you may have during the session or after the session. And at the bottom of the screen, you can also find a question tab, which we'll be using for a live Q&A at the end of our session. Joining me on stage is Danica from uAfrica, who is going to tell us a little bit more of our speaker for tonight.
Hi, everyone. It's good to see so many people join us today. I know that Warrick is a very popular figure in the e-commerce space, so we're super excited to have him on board and share some information with us. Warrick and I have been working together for, it must be just over 3.5 years. He actually spoke at one of the first meetups that we organized, 4 years ago? So it's always good to have him on board for these kinds of sessions and any kind of events to learn from him and see what we can gain in terms of knowledge in the e-commerce space. Warrick, it is so good to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. It is great to see you guys again and to see how many people have joined us this evening. And yeah, Danny, actually, I do remember just when you joined uAfrica and we met at one of your meetup events in Parkhurst. And yeah, it's been such a pleasure working with uAfrica. Yeah, it was. Yeah. And at the same time, to see the industry change so much over the last quick few years, because it really has changed, and thankfully for the better. There is so much exciting stuff happening in the space. So hopefully this presentation tonight adds to that excitement and the education that we always want to be sharing.
Absolutely. So I think before we get started into asking you a couple questions and all of that, I think maybe it would be quite cool for those people that don't know you, which I doubt there's a lot of, for you to do a quick intro into who you are, what you like doing, and maybe you can answer a few questions that people might not necessarily know about you, like your favorite food, your favorite animal, stuff like that.
Okay, cool. Favorite food, pizza. Favorite animal, leopard. Those are easy ones. And yeah, so some background of my story and why I suppose I'm speaking here tonight is, I've been in e-commerce for 15 years now. I just wound up ending up in e-commerce in UK when I went across there to get some international experience. And the company I was working with in the UK was just exploding. It was going crazy and having so much success. And I always planned to come back to my home country, South Africa, and I was seeing the success over there and always keeping an eye on the local market and seeing that it was a few years behind and there was a few players starting up, but there was a big opportunity. So I took what I learned there and returned home. And thankfully, just before I left, my confidence was boosted, because in 2009, I was selected as London's Outstanding Young Business Person of the Year. And with that confidence and my newly found skills, I came back home and started a business, but it wasn't as easy as I hoped it would be, because things like choosing a payment gateway, it was so hard. Like, there was nobody for me to ask questions to get advice, no community, no support, or which courier to use, or which website platform to build on, or any of the same questions that I've seen so many people still asking to this time today. And I had to go back in 2010 and I had to figure this all out through trial and error and trying not to go bankrupt all the time, because whenever I made mistakes, I was losing money. And that was a difficult journey. But that business, Action Gear, luckily it took off. We were the first people in Africa selling GoPros, which was a good move. And later we were the biggest seller of drones and all kinds of other sporting apparel. And the business grew, and so did our revenue. And we also won some awards with that. uAfrica used to do the annual e-commerce awards, and in 2015 we took home one of the top trophies there. And that trophy was actually an interesting turning point for me personally, because what happened after the back of that was we were getting a lot of press and a lot of people were seeing our success, and people were coming to me and they were saying, Warrick, like, how do you sell online? Like, how do you take payments on the internet? Like, which couriers would you use? Which website platform would you suggest? And I was like thinking to myself, these are the same questions that I was trying to figure out in 2010. Now it's like way later and people still having the same problems, same challenges. And what was really concerning to me was that there was still no community, no support, or very little. And that's where I set out to build and launch the Insaka e-commerce academy, where our intention and our goal is to help entrepreneurs to build thriving e-commerce businesses by providing them everything that I wish I had when I was starting out: training, mentorship, community support. And hey, that's where this fits into perfectly tonight, because this is the support that kind of fits in with our vision. We want to help people. And hopefully tonight's conversation is going to help you guys who are tuning in tonight, just like it's helped thousands of other people. So Danny, thanks for giving me that quick chance to introduce myself. Let's see, hopefully it's not my signal that's dropping, because I see Danny's reconnecting. It could be load shedding. In the comments, can you guys let me know if you can hear me, or maybe I'm actually the one that's dropped off and I'm just talking to myself here. Let's see what we've got going on here. I'm fine. Okay, great. Thanks, Kyle. All right. Well, let me just take over the show, because my two hosts have got a bit of load shedding, it seems. I do know that in Cape Town, they were having a few challenges, which is why Crystal is at somebody else's house. And now Danny might be having the same challenges. But hey, I've got solar power, which means that we don't experience load shedding. Thank goodness for that. But what we are here to talk about tonight is the easy steps to find a winning strategy. And hopefully Danny and Crystal can join me. Otherwise, we had planned what we were going to go through. And Danny's back.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
Crystal and I popped off at the same time because of the same reasons. How bizarre. Goodness, I'm so sorry about that. Where were we?
I was preparing to take over the show all on my own, but now that you're back, we are back where we wanted to be, with the kind of the start of the kind of discussion, the presentation that we wanted to go through tonight. Awesome. So Danny, maybe you could lead us a little bit by going through what we want to touch on through tonight's conversation.
Okay, perfect. I just wanted to touch on your intro. I'm always so grateful that people have the same mindset about e-commerce, and I know that you and I often talk about this, how good it is that people are so for building the e-commerce industry, and that always
like certificate who have put their name on this list, and it's available to you guys for free, and they are willing to work with you. So if you're in the market, you want to start selling online, and you're listening to this saying, yeah, geez, how do I find a good product? Like, we've tried our best to solve that problem for you, because we have training on how to find winning products on the website. And we also have the suppliers list. You can get that on the Insaka website. Just go to free resources and you can get that suppliers list. It's 150 companies that will literally start supplying you tomorrow once you reach out to them.
And it just goes to show that having the right partners makes a huge difference when starting a business, regardless of what you're starting. But it's all about connecting with the right people and having the right partners in your corner.
Absolutely.
So cool. I think we can hop onto. Sorry, Crystal.
No worries. So when it comes to creating a website, do entrepreneurs need to hire an agency to do this? Can they do it themselves? What would the best advice be? What route should they go here?
So they can totally go both ways, because you can go and hire an agency, and there are so many great agencies which will help you to build your website. And that is also a preference for people who are cash rich but time poor. So if you are short on time and you really don't want to be doing this yourself, then you can find an agency to do it. My preference for anybody who I'm speaking to would be that if you do have the time, or if you want to save some cash, then do it yourself. Mm-hmm. Because what you will find is, even if you've never done it before, it is easier than it looks from the outside, because these companies are spending so much time making it as easy as possible for you to be able to do it yourself. The one challenge that I see people coming up against all the time is like, which platform do you choose? Because there's so many. In fact, there's over 300 different e-commerce website platform builders which advertise themselves to the South African market, saying that they are correct. They are the one you should be working with. Mm-hmm. And the thing is that they can actually all do what you want to do. Like, I mean, PayFast, they integrate with almost everybody, which is amazing. So you can take payments and you can put your products on the website and you can go live and you're good to go. But that's what you want to do in the beginning. Then as your website starts to grow, then you have different requirements and different needs in terms of support, development, and importantly, integrations, apps, and plugins. And those integrations, apps, and plugins aren't things that you always think about in the beginning. But as your business grows, that's when you start to think, well, geez, my customers like to operate like this, and I want to do a loyalty program, or I want to do something funny on my website. And you want to be able to do that without having to pay a developer, a custom builder for you. And you can do that with website platforms that offer massive suites of plugins or apps to be able to do that for you. A package, yeah. It's like a pre-built development thing. So if you want to do a loyalty program, you could either pay a developer to build it for you, or you can just go into the plugins list or the app store and you can choose it, and then you just install it and it's good to go. So when we look at that list of 300 different e-commerce platforms, that can start to feel a bit overwhelming. It really can. And in my experience, my advice would be to kind of cut through the clutter, and just for entrepreneurs who are looking to start out, either, in my opinion, look at WordPress together with WooCommerce or Shopify. There are other platforms that can do it, but these are the ones that offer the support locally, and they offer the plugins and the apps that you need to have that extra functionality. But importantly, they are also the ones that integrate with most of the services that you're going to need further down the road, like uAfrica, for example. Like uAfrica integrates with with a lot of website platforms, but not all of them. And Shopify and WordPress, because they are the two most popular here, they have most of the support, most of the integrations, most of the community who can help you if you need it. So that's really my recommendation.
Okay, cool. That's good to know. You mentioned earlier when you did your intro that payments and payment gateways were, something that you wish somebody had told you about when you were setting up. So do new online sellers need some sort of verification or approval to be able to take payments on their website?
Yeah, it's a really good question, because sometimes people hesitate to go online because they don't know how they can take payments, or what kind of approvals, verifications, certificates. Like, do you need a police clearance certificate, or what do you need? And the good news is that companies like PayFast have made it their mission to make it as easy as possible for you to start taking payments online. When I started in 2010, it took me 3.5 months to get my site approved by Visa and MasterCard, and I had to get a merchant number and all of this. Oh, it was such a mission.
That's terrible.
And now new merchants can do it within, is it 24 hours, Crystal? I think it's even less now. Well, it's just minutes and then verification, isn't it?
Definitely.
Yeah. So the great thing is that you can go onto the PayFast website, register your account. It's a 3-step process. And by the end of that, you can actually immediately start taking payments. In the beginning, you can do EFT. And then once you've verified your account with like your ID book and your proof of address and all of that stuff, then you can start taking credit card. You can sell it with QR codes. You can do MasterPass. And Crystal, what am I missing? What else am I missing there?
I think I need to get you a PayFast shirt. Next time I get you a PayFast shirt, then we can redo that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, but it enables new merchants to be able to start taking payments on like straight away. And the other thing, when people hear me saying this, then they say, okay, well, that's all good and well, but now I need to go and register my business. I've got to go and register with CIPC. Maybe I've got to go standard SARS. I don't even know. Like, what have I got to do before I can go and register an account? But there again, companies like PayFast have made it so easy, because you can literally start taking payments without even registering a company, by registering your PayFast account using your own names. So your own ID book, your own bank account, your own proof of address, and boom, you can start taking payments. And then those payments from your customers are paid out to your personal bank account. So there again, it just helps you to get started super, super quick. And then later down the road, like if and when this business starts growing, then you can go and kind of get stuck into the red tape and the admin of registering a business and doing all of that stuff. But really, when you want to start, you should get started as quickly as possible without having to kind of get yourself caught up in all of these hesitations. And thankfully, these services that we're talking about allow you to do that. And it sounds like I should be wearing a PayFast shirt, but the thing is that earlier, Danny and I we said, like, companies like you guys, companies like this, are laying the foundation for entrepreneurs to have more success online. And this is totally exactly in line with that, because where it used to be a struggle and it used to take a long time, now it's super quick. What took me 3.5 months to do, you guys can do in a day.
It's like a blink of an eye.
And it's so important to get online as soon as possible. And once you have your product and everything, everybody is trying to make a living, and you want to get online and up and running as soon as possible. And you need to have those payment gateways set up to make your first sale. So thank goodness for companies like PayFast in this case, for being able to do that a lot faster and then kind of trying to remove that red tape.
Definitely.
So once you've got a website, you've got a payment portal, you've got everything together, and you've got your products, what do you think is the best way to get the first few sales? Because breaking that first sale barrier is quite overwhelming, and I think a lot of people find it quite difficult. So what tips would you give to actually break that barrier?
Okay, cool. And I agree with you, because getting that first sale is quite a big milestone.
Definitely.
And I would totally encourage people to kind of hack this one by going to your friends and family and guilt tripping them into buying from your website. Not only do you want that first sale, but more importantly, for your first sales, like, you've also got to figure out your delivery processes, and you've got to figure out like all the notifications and the emails that need to be sent, and it might take a few extra days. So why not do that first delivery to a friend or a family member who's not going to be upset or write a bad review or something if the thing arrives a day or two late. And using your friends can also...
It's probably a mental thing as well. Like, once you've made the first sale, regardless of to who it is, it's this like mental thing of, I've done it, let's go on, let's do the next one.
And I can do it, yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. And also, like, when your website goes live, I see so many people being so hard on themselves. In fact, I was coaching one of my premium members today. Her website's been live for 3 months and she's only had one sale, and she's absolutely panicking. And I was like, okay, let's take a breath and let's look at your numbers, because understanding there's two key numbers that people must understand when starting out, and especially when getting that first sale, because so many people are so hard on themselves and are kind of disappointed when their site's live and there's not just like orders flowing in through the internet and money like printing into their bank account. But the two metrics that we absolutely must understand in the beginning is traffic and then your conversion rate. Now, if you guys allow, if you don't mind, I'm going to dive into this for a second here, because traffic on a website is like a physical store. Like, you go, if you had like a physical brick and mortar shop, if you opened that store and nobody walked in the door, you would reasonably expect that you're not going to get any sales. Sales don't happen without visitors, without traffic. And your website is no different. So if you're not getting visitors to your website, you can't expect sales. And that's why it's important to know your numbers, to look at your traffic, and then to start managing your own expectations around how much traffic you need to get to start seeing sales coming through the website.
Conversions,
to start seeing those conversions. And in the beginning, when your website's new and it's maybe needs a bit of improvement and people aren't familiar with your brand and customers are shopping around, the conversions come slower than they do later on. And Shopify released a very interesting stat, being that on average, and like, Shopify has millions and millions of merchants selling on their website, and what they've seen is that on average, when a new store goes live, it takes 400 visitors to start seeing that first sale. Now, 400 visitors is an American stat. And in South Africa, our conversion rates, and I'll explain this all in a minute, is half, which means that in South Africa, we could reasonably expect that we need about 800 visitors, 800 people to come to our website before we're going to get that elusive first sale. But once that sale comes in, then, you know, that conversion rate does come back. So just like Kyle said in the comments there, like, wow, yeah, totally. We need 800 visitors. And when we know that number, then it's actually good news, because we can manage our own expectations, right? Like, when your website's live and you're looking at your stats, and these stats are very easily available in WordPress, Shopify, and all the others, then you can look at your traffic And if you're sitting at 200 visitors and you haven't had a sale, don't feel bad. Like, let's go for more traffic. We need to do some link sharing. We need to go and kind of share it wherever we can on social media. We need to WhatsApp it to all of our friends that we think are interested. Let's run some paid ads. Let's start looking at different methods, search engine optimization, paid ads, to get traffic to our site, knowing that we need to get about 800 visitors on average to expect that first sale.
That is crazy. That is like a stat I never would have ever expected. I mean, obviously I don't have an online store, but that's really insane.
And that is an average. So some customers would need like way more, and some it might happen way earlier.
I can just imagine how easily people get discouraged. Because that's a high number to get to. And then if it is higher, then you're wondering, well, what am I doing wrong? And wow.
Yeah. And that's a big question to ask, like, what am I doing wrong? Because I said that there was two key metrics. So one is traffic, and the other, as Crystal said, is conversion rate optimization. So Leon's saying 800 visits per month. So 800 visitors from like the day you launch your site to the time you should get your first sale. And that's an average, just an average stat. So half of those will be robots on my site. Well, let's hope that's not being tracked. But once you are getting traffic on your site, and especially once you've got a first few sales that have ticked over, then we need to start looking at what Crystal mentioned, at conversion. Because this is another metric that a lot of online sellers, like, you see all these stats and you got all this information and you don't really know what to do with it. Traffic and conversion rates, that's the two that I want you to focus on. Let's get traffic, because just like a physical store, we need people to come into the store before we're going to get sales. But then how many of those visitors are converting to being paying customers? And in America, like if you ever research this, you'll see like, average conversion rate, 4-5%, that's amazing. South Africa's not there. We are working on an average conversion rate of about 1 to 1.5%. And what that means is that if you get 100 visitors to your site, once a site is more established, then you should expect maybe 1.5, 2 sales to come in. And that's a conversion rate that you want to be aiming at. And as Danny said, people get to site and they're like, what am I doing wrong? The answer to that question is either you're not getting enough traffic or you're not converting enough traffic to paying customers. Because once you know your conversion rate, and you're seeing, my site's converting at like 0.5%, you need to focus on your website. You need to focus on your pricing. You need to focus on the trust factors so that people who land on your site are more likely to buy from you. And that's why I really talk about these two factors so much.
Okay, cool. That is really good to know. All right, so capturing sales is one thing, but then it's about getting the orders to your customers. So what challenges would you say are involved in delivering the orders to the customers? What can people do to make it easier?
Okay, cool. So now I'm going to put on my uAfrica shirt. No, I'm joking. But so when it comes to deliveries, like, again, the market has changed so much from when I started out to where it is now, where it's so much easier and actually relatively it's much cheaper. There are so many tools and resources that we can use to make it easier for us and easier for the customer, because there's a big temptation to go and do a bit of research, check a few websites and choose the absolute cheapest partner, maybe a no-name brand courier, and just go with the one that's the cheapest. But you also want to focus on reliability, because there's like this really interesting dynamic when it comes to couriers. And I got to say, and we've seen this recently, the couriers take so much heat in the market, and rightfully so, because as an online seller, like, you've done everything right. Like, you've built a website, you've got your traffic, you've done your conversion rate, you get some sales, and then you wrap up this beautiful little parcel, you put a little handwritten thank you note in there, and you then hand it over to the courier, and your entire company reputation is in their hands. If they lose it, if they are late, if they damage it, the customer's upset with you and not with the courier. And so they take so much heat, and you really need to choose a partner that is reliable, one that communicates to your customers, and one that's just going to do the job. So do you go for the absolute cheapest one? No. Do you go with the one that you can rely on and the one that's going to uphold your company reputation? Yes. Now, there are seemingly countless couriers that you can choose from, some small brands, some big brands. Now, it does often change depending where you are based in the country, because like when I was in Joburg, like Fostway worked really, really well where I was based, but like 2 blocks away, the guys they were moaning that Fostway was a disaster. And in some areas, like there are companies that have national footprints, like Ram, like the Courier Guy, and some others that are offering the system where they control the delivery from start to finish instead of handing it to a third party to do that last mile delivery. But really, the thing I want to kind of hone in on here is the technology that is allowing it to be so much easier and actually often cheaper. And I don't want to be doing a sales pitch for uAfrica, but it's a software that I've used personally in my businesses for many years. And it's something that I recommend to all of my premium students, because what it does is, it integrates into your website. And this is, again, why you want to choose a website platform that integrates. Because what I had to do years ago is I would get an order, and then I'd have to look at my screen and handwrite like the thing onto a Waybill, like pencil or pen onto like a printed Waybill. And I would make mistakes, and then I had staff doing it. They would make mistakes. You get a sore hand. You run out of pen ink. It was such a disaster. Nowadays, an order comes through your website. When that order is paid and confirmed, it gets checked in, and you can just log into the uAfrica system. You can see multiple couriers who are bidding against that parcel in real time, showing you the price that they would charge you. You just tick the one that you want, and it's all booked in. The courier arrives at your door. Your customer gets notifications, updates, and those notifications and updates are super important, because whenever you've shopped online and you get those notifications, you know that it makes you feel that you're getting those updates. It also means that the merchant's going to get way less questions and emails and stuff. So you really want to make sure that that's in place. And it just works way, way better. And often, because they are consolidating shipments, they can pass on the saving of the pricing onto their merchants, which is just such a win. So it is way easier than it used to be. But ultimately, with deliveries, you do want to look at different options, like in terms of the couriers that uAfrica use, and various other things. Like, to be honest, like, I'm loving the Pudo system right now. The Pudo lockers, they are super cheap. My wife sells online, and we live in the middle of this. Yeah, we live down by Kruger and like on a wildlife estate, but there's 3 Pudo lockers within like 10 minutes of us, which is unbelievable. And they're just super cheap. So that's a good option. And there's just so many new innovations coming into the delivery market. But getting your parcel to your customer, and those notifications kind of remind me to say one other thing, which is just so important. When it comes to sending your parcel to your customers, I would encourage you to use notifications and any other means possible to manage your customers' expectations. For instance, let's say there's flooding in KZN, and you have parcels either going to customers in KZN or coming out KZN or going through KZN. Whenever there's going to be a delay, you need to tell your customer. You have to manage their expectations, because if you don't, then it's going to come to the situation where it's like 1, 2, 3 days late, the customer hasn't got the parcel, they start freaking out, they start writing bad reviews, and they start phoning and emailing you in a fury of saying, where's my parcel? And you could so easily have avoided that by sending them a WhatsApp, by emailing them, by picking up the phone and being like, hey, I know that your parcel is being delayed. We are on it. We are working to get it to you as fast as possible. But simply managing expectations, and this is actually a little sneaky trick here. No, not a trick, but it's just something that not everybody does. And I mentioned that uAfrica used to run the annual e-commerce awards. And in 2015, my company won the best customer service award in e-commerce in South Africa. And we did that because we managed expectations and we just communicated to our customers. It's so easy, and so many people aren't doing it. And so that's just like something that I'd love you guys to write that one down and circle it and just say, like, this is an easy one. It's a way for us to impress our customers by really doing what we should be doing anyway.
Absolutely. As Anita, who's our business manager, always says, it's so important to under-promise and over-deliver. So rather add a few extra days to give yourself just a bit of gap to, get that picking and packing right, to give the couriers a bit of extra time. Rather promise them 5 days and have it delivered in 3 than to sit with a disappointed customer that won't buy from you again. So it's super, super important.
And you see, Takealot does that also, because I don't know about you guys, but whenever I order off Takealot, the delivery date that they tell me, I kind of know out of habit that it's just going to come a couple days early. but they are impressing me every single time and also allowing themselves a bit of room to breathe in case if something goes wrong. It's not late, it's just on time.
Yeah, and their communication is, as you say, on point, because on that morning, even if it is early, you still go, okay, I see Takealot is delivering today, which is 3 days earlier than promised, but they're arriving today, which makes my day on that.
Absolutely.
Definitely. And just in terms of shipping, you actually mentioned shipping in your last comment. What is your take on drop shipping and managing customers' expectations with delivery times? Because I see that's become quite a big issue, especially since COVID has come.
Yeah. So how much time have we got? Because this is a long one.
Might be a topic for the next cracking the code.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, so I'm glad that you brought that up, because I'm sure many people who have tuned in tonight, if you're new to e-commerce, sometimes you come to e-commerce because you learn about dropshipping. And maybe you learned about dropshipping because you may have Googled something around like a business I can start with little to no money, or something I can start with low risk. And Google always says dropshipping. That's what you can do. And the thing that I wish wasn't the case is that we are stuck at the bottom tip of Africa, which is far away from everything else, which means that our shipping costs are outrageously high and our delivery times are sadly slow. And it means that dropshipping is really hard to get right. And if I can just kind of go into this for a bit, there's 3 models for dropshipping that people can pursue. So the 3 models, and I'll just go through this quickly. The first one is to dropship from like a supplier in let's say China and send it to a customer in Europe or America. And that can work. The challenge with that model is that there's a time zone challenge. In terms of customers from America message you, you're asleep, you reply the next day, they're asleep. And that we can overcome. But the bigger challenge is the level of competition that is existing within dropshipping in America, because there's a lot of people doing this and they've been doing it for quite a long time. So by the time you've researched and found, they're doing it really well. Yeah. So you might find this new widget, this new product, something that you're excited about. It's brand new. And by the time you've even put it on your website, there's like 100 other websites that are doing it also. And they aren't doing it to a cold audience or to a small email list. They've been doing this for a long time. So their Facebook tracking, their pixels are really hitting it. So they're on fire. So when they take the exact same product as you and they put it in the market, they can sell tens of thousands of pieces and you might be struggling to sell 1 or 2 of them. So the competition is really something not to be underestimated by looking at that. And to be honest, I am yet to find a single person in South Africa, who has built a sustainable business using this model of dropshipping from China into Europe or America, just because of the level of competitiveness. And I hope that we can overcome that. But for now, I'm going to say that while that is a strategy, it wouldn't be a good one just based on the fact that I can't find anybody in South Africa who's making money doing that sustainably. So the second model is dropshipping from China into South Africa. So this seems like something that we want to be doing because we can find something really cheap. We put it on our website. Now we can sell it way cheaper than anybody else in South Africa because it's coming from China. But there's challenges again, right? Because what we've got to do is we have to pay very careful attention to the cost of the delivery. Because the cost of delivery, if it's too expensive, it negates the cost saving that you're trying to do by buying something from China, right? It's like a 100 rand item, but now delivery is $600. It just doesn't work. So you got to send it by the postal service. The postal service will mean that your shipping cost is really low, but your shipping time is like 45, 60, 75 days, working days.
Ridiculous.
And after like 30 days, your customer starts saying, "Where's my parcel?" And you're like, "I don't know, there's no tracking information." And then it arrives in the South African Postal Service. And Danny, you've got some insights into how many parcels the Postal Service loses. But it's a significant number, and you can't build a business on that. The delays and lost parcels.
If you can avoid it, let's put it that way.
Yeah, let's avoid our friends at South African Post Office while we can. So doing it that way is not an option. So the alternative is let's fly the products in. So then it's a shorter time frame, happy days. But now you're selling something cheaper, but you're adding on a very expensive delivery charge. So your shipping time comes down, but the cost goes up. So it's a catch-22. Now there is something that's changing in that space, because there's a service called Airpool, which is consolidating products in China and shipping one air container across per week. And that means that you can basically have a product from China to your customer or to yourself within 10 days. And the cost is not as cheap as a post office. It's not as expensive as couriering, but it kind of works in the middle. So that is a new innovation in the market, another one of these nice changes that's helping to support entrepreneurs, which is awesome. And maybe that'll change that.
Is it available already, or is that still coming in the future?
It's already launched. So they are already running consolidated warehouses, consolidated containers weekly, which is awesome. Yeah. So that's quite fun. So I said that there was 3 models. So first one was shipping China to America. Second one was China to South Africa. The third one is drop shipping within South Africa by finding local suppliers who have products where you can go to them and say, look, you've got a warehouse full of products and I've got a website. So let me sell them. And then when I get an order, I will get it collected from you, or we'll get it shipped from you straight to the customer. And that is a model that does work. That is a model that absolutely works. But, and I see Leon that says that's what I do, which is awesome. And I bet you Leon would agree with me that the challenge here, and this is not a challenge that is not one that we can't overcome, but the biggest challenge here is working or finding suppliers that are willing to work with us, because this all comes down to reputation and trust. And again, this is a long story. I'll try and cut this one short, but in South Africa, we have a challenge around pricing, specifically price fixing, and the fact that it's illegal to price fix. And why this becomes important with drop shipping is because the wholesalers, like, let's say, I don't know, the guys who distribute hiking backpacks, they've spent the last 15, 20 years building a company, supplying those hiking backpacks to the likes of Sportsman's Warehouse, Cape Union Mart, these companies who buy in bulk, put it on the shelf, they've invested money in the stock, and they sell it. Then they get a drop shipper knocking on the door saying, hey, I want to sell this stuff. And if they work with you, there's a chance that the drop shipper could lower the price. And even if it's a little bit, as soon as they drop that price, they're going to get a phone call from Cape Union Mart and be like, hey, what's going on? There's this website that's like dropping the price. And the kicker is that in South Africa, because of price fixing laws, the wholesaler cannot phone you and say, can you put your price up, because that's illegal. So they can't do that, which means that they will not work with anybody that they don't trust. They need to have that kind of relationship, the rapport, to know that you're not going to drop the price unless if there's a promotion or something that you've agreed on. But if you're going to be that company, that person who drops the price, you're going to very quickly end up without a supplier. And that is actually why suppliers in South Africa don't want to work with drop shippers. But just like Leon, I bet you what Leon's done is built a relationship with a supplier, gone in there. Maybe it's somebody that you knew, you've had a working relationship with them, or you've taken them for dinner, you've wined and dined them as much as you can and said, like, I'm trustworthy, I'm reliable, let's work together. We'll do promotions when we do promotions, but you can trust me. And you take their products, you put it on your site, and it is absolutely a model that can work. It's something that's worth working towards, because hey, at one stage I had 35 dropshipping suppliers all running like clockwork. Wow. And it was a dream. It's an absolute dream, because the big benefit here is that you don't have to put any money into the stock. You only pay for it once you've actually sold it. So you actually get like the money before you even pay the bill, which is awesome.
Yeah, dropshipping is one of those tricky things that you either get it right or you get it completely wrong. It's a tough thing to master, but those who have mastered it do it very well. But I do think that, like you said, I mean, how much time do you have? This is definitely a topic of conversation that I think can be rehashed in another episode where we focus only on this, because I know that we get a lot of questions about it, and we don't always have all of the answers. And I think putting a whole bunch of heads together, I think we might be able to come up with a few really good answers to help the people out there who want to do some dropshipping.
Awesome. Yeah, we can totally do a whole nother session on this.
Awesome. That's really cool.
Just a question from the audience is Isaac is asking, is there any specific advice for someone starting a multi-vendor marketplace like Takealot or Jaeger?
Yes. My advice would be that it is not something to be done lightly. And Again, we could do a whole session on this, but let me kind of compress it into the short version. A marketplace needs two things. And the best way to explain this is like to think about a flea market. Like on the weekend, on Saturday, I went down to the local market. It was amazing. But there was actually like very few vendors there. And the products weren't that amazing. And like if they do that same market in a few weeks' time, like I'm probably not going to go. So there's that element, is that a marketplace, a multi-vendor marketplace, needs to have a lot of sellers with a lot of products in order to get customers to come back again and again. And on the flip side, the marketplace also has to have a lot of customers, because in the example of a flea market, if there was like a ton of vendors, like loads and loads of people with loads and loads of products, and then nobody arrived, those vendors aren't going to come back next time. They're not going to be super excited. They're giving up their Saturday. They're not going to go and build their gazebo and go and lay out their table and sacrifice their time if no customers are coming. And so it's really important to understand that a marketplace needs lots of vendors with lots of products and lots of customers who are coming back time and time again. And I know Danny has got some insights into the bid or buy business, and no doubt, like when they are doing their advertising, like on the radio and on billboards, and all the time we hear their jingle, they are speaking to their customers, but they are also reminding their vendors that we're here, like come, be excited, be involved. Because if people aren't there on both sides, then it's not going to work. And the reason that I just say that people can't approach a marketplace, a multi-vendor marketplace lightly, is because in order to get that momentum, you have to have a lot of sellers and a lot of customers constantly on the platform. And if you don't have both of those things, then it's not going to fly. So it can totally work, but it needs both those factors. If one of them isn't there, the other one's going to fall away very quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. So Warrick, I mean, there's a lot of information that you have built up over the last, when did you say you started Action Gear? Was 2010?
2010, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, that's what, 12 years? That's a lot of time in an industry that's changed a lot. And there's a lot of information that I know you do share. Where can people go to learn more?
Thanks, Danny. You're too kind. So if anybody did want to learn more, the Insaka website, www.insaka.co.za. On that website, we have a free resources section. And in that free resources section, there are dozens and dozens of tools, resources, mini courses, downloads, PDFs, ebooks, and everything. And it guides you to know what you need to do. Leon's asking to type the website.
I'll type, sorry.
Thanks, Danny. So on that website, you've got free resources for days. And the other thing is that if you're on Facebook, which I think many of you guys would be, please do go and join the Insaka e-commerce community. That's a free group that you can join today. And there's 28,000 e-commerce entrepreneurs in that group. 28,000 people who have questions just like you. 28,000 people who will answer your question because they have just been trying to overcome the same challenges as you have. Some are just starting out, some are miles ahead. There's actually some really big shot entrepreneurs in that group. And of course, myself and my team are also checking that out and helping where we can. So that's a great resource.
Cool. Amazing. There's one more question from the audience, which we can quickly tackle, is how do I build a legitimacy and trust with my customers so that they can return and become loyal to my new brand? What's some tips that you can give them to achieve this?
Okay, so I love this question. Because there's kind of two elements to it. The one is trust, and the other one is getting customers to come back and return purchase. So trust is one of the biggest factors to overcome in the mind of the customer. Because when somebody's on your website, you could have such a beautiful website. You could have the exact product that somebody's looking to buy. But if they don't trust your website, they're not going to buy from you. Hands down, they are just not going to buy from you. So you have to build trust. Now, it's kind of hard to build trust through a website because they don't know you. Like, how do you do that? But I really encourage people to lean into bringing their own personality and putting their own face and name on the website. Now, the About Us section on your website is so important. People often go there with this element of trust. Like, do I trust this website? Let me go and read their story. Let me see who works there. Like, what are they about? Now, the About Us page on your website cannot be a one paragraph page saying, we are the best at selling X, Y, and Z. It really needs to be somewhere that you spend a lot of time, like building out your story, putting your picture. If you have a team, put your faces there with names, with your responsibilities. If you have a premises, if you have a building, imagine how much trust it will build if you have a picture of your building. Oh, geez, this is a big proper business. And if you don't have that, still put a picture of yourself, tell your story, tell them why you sell these products. If you're passionate about it, tell them how you became passionate, like why you sell these products and how you love to engage with the customers. Like put your own personality into it, because people buy from people, and they'll be far more likely to buy from you if they feel that they can trust you. And again, even put your own picture on the homepage of the website and do everything that you can to build that trust. And then I suppose it goes into the second part of the question, which was around getting customers to trust your brand to come and shop with you again and again. And this is some of the beautiful things about e-commerce, is getting customers to shop a second time, a third time, a fourth time. Because when we have got a customer who's part of our database, who's shopped with us once, we've all heard this, like it's way easier to get somebody to buy the second time, right? It's way cheaper to get somebody to buy the second time. And it's important because getting that first sale, there's a customer acquisition cost. Like you've done marketing, you've put your time, your effort, your love and your passion into this website, and you've got the first sale. That's awesome. But if that customer goes away and they never come back again, then that acquisition cost is that acquisition cost, and that's what it was. But if you can get that customer to come and buy a second time, the acquisition cost is divided by 2 orders, right? 2 orders. So now your acquisition cost is halved. And if they buy a third time, a fourth time, a fifth time, you can imagine how much cheaper your acquisition cost becomes. And that means that you can actually put more money into marketing, knowing that if your customers are going to buy multiple times, then you can actually outspend your competitors who are all just looking at the money generated from the marketing spend that first time around. And that's where you can get pretty advanced. And it's really important, just like this person's asked, to get customers to shop a second time around. So what can you do? Here are some tips. Firstly, let's put a flyer in the box that offers them a 10% or a 5% discount for their second purchase. Because yes, we don't really want to give away profit. We don't want to give away discounts. But if you understand that the acquisition cost is now halved, then let's give them that discount. Let's get them to buy the second time. Let's get them on our email list. Let's re-engage with them. Let's send them an email, because if they bought the new drone last month, then maybe there's some accessories. Hey guys, did you see there's new accessories for your drone? There's new batteries. Do you need another battery? You probably do. You need another battery. Let's do a special on the batteries. Let's get you some accessories. Oh, the new version launched. Did you see this? Like, yeah, if you are a returning customer, we'll give you a bit of a discount, or we'll let you go on a waiting list so you can be the first to purchase. Do the emails, get them into your socials, get them into your environment, so that they're seeing you on Facebook, Instagram, on emails, they're visiting your website, and that is how you build that relationship through a computer. And you actually build the rapport, you build that trust, so that they will come and trust your brand enough to want to shop with you time and time again.
That is awesome. And that's really, really important.
Cool. I love that question.
I don't know if there's any more questions coming through. I can't see any of the comments on my side. You've got to love some technical difficulties.
We have Beverly. She's asking, what do you think about WhatsApp comms as opposed to emails to customers?
So I love it. Absolutely love it. And I would say not as opposed, but as well as. So emails and send them everywhere. So if you can capture the customers' their details, let's get as many touch points going as possible. Now, WhatsApp is really powerful, because if you're anything like me, you read every single WhatsApp that comes into your phone. Emails, you just archive it, maybe you don't, maybe you do. But WhatsApps have a great open rate, which is really cool. But getting those details, and Beverly actually commented above in a higher comment to say that I'm working on building my client base, which is such an amazing thing to do, Beverly. Because one thing that we need to recognize is that your email list, and hey, your WhatsApp list as well, if you can get their contact details, that's one of the only digital assets that you're ever going to own in your business. Because you could be working with Facebook. Like years ago, everybody was like, oh, please like me on Facebook, like our page. And then Mark Zuckerberg's like, oh, that doesn't count anymore, tough luck. And all of that work went out the window, because you're playing in somebody else's sandpit. But with your email list, if you're working on MailChimp and you don't like MailChimp anymore, you can go to Klaviyo and you can just export it. It belongs to you, and that is your own digital asset. Now, I often say something that I think you guys, this would be a great thing to write down, is that the future growth of your sales for an online business can be determined by the current growth of your email list. So the future growth of your sales can be determined by the current growth of your email list. If your email list is not growing right now, don't expect to have growth in sales later. And it's just such a wonderful way to have communication to people, because on Facebook, if you want people to see your ads or your posts, you need to pay. With emails, if you've got their details, if you can WhatsApp them, you can email them, then you can communicate with your customers continuously, and you can get them to come back to your site, to come and shop with you again. Give them specials, tell them about your Black Friday deals, tell them about everything you're doing. And that is how you kind of build a successful e-commerce business.
Absolutely.
Incredible. We have another question who says, it's Leon. He says, how do I get them to buy from my site instead of having me deliver and accept cash upon delivery?
That is a super interesting question, because getting them to shop on your website is going to be far more scalable than relying on you kind of making a delivery to a customer. So I would encourage you to really try and push people to do that. But I also understand and empathize that some customers and some products, people want to pay cash on delivery. But the very reason that people are doing cash on delivery either tells me that your products are very low priced, so it wouldn't warrant to have a delivery cost on top of it. You know, like if you buy an item for $50 and you have to pay 75 Rand for delivery, then it doesn't work out. But if the product's prices are higher and they are still asking you for cash on delivery, it's probably because of a trust issue.
Yeah.
Maybe they're looking at your website and being like, I don't trust this website enough to put my credit card details into it. In which case, I'm asking you to deliver to me, and when I've got the product, I'll give you cash. Yeah. And that's probably a trust issue. So I don't want to call you out, Leon, but maybe take a look at your site and ask people to give their opinion on it. Like ask your friends and family to give you true feedback on that website, or even better yet, take your website, paste the link or share the link in the Insaka community on Facebook and say, hey guys, what feedback do you have? Because people do that all the time. And you'll get dozens and dozens of comments from other community members who will help you with trust factors, with, I don't know, whatever they can suggest that you can improve on your site.
Yeah, I think it's quite important to get constructive criticism from the people who are actually buying from you. They'll be as honest as they come, and then you at least know where you need to target as well.
Yeah, and something else that I think Leon could look at is a service called TradeSafe. So their website's tradesafe.co.za. And in the event that customers don't trust your site enough to purchase on the website, then you can use TradeSafe to just bump up your trust factor really quickly, because what that does is that it allows a customer to pay into escrow and hold it there. And when the delivery's been made, then the money gets paid out to the merchant. So that's an escrow service that can also deal with the trust factor. But really, if people are asking for cash on delivery, it's not scalable at all. And you want to use e-commerce for what it's meant to be, to have a scalable business that you can service customers right around the country, even right around the world.
Absolutely.
Great. That's no more. Okay. Carl is asking for quick top 3 tips. And 1, 2, 3, go.
Oh my goodness, that's putting me on the spot. I've shared a lot of tips already. Come on, guys.
Top 3.
Okay, so top 3. So let me start with the major one. That kind of, I'll start with 1. Okay, and then see what else comes to me. So number 1, don't hesitate to get started. We've already told you that the payments are easy, that the deliveries are easier than ever before, that you can build your own website even if you think it's super hard. Give it a go, because you might find that you can actually do this. Don't hesitate to start. Just get started. Momentum creates more momentum. And so many people are sitting on the sidelines watching this e-commerce industry grow and thrive. And maybe you were thinking about e-commerce, hey, even before COVID hit, and then you saw, there's COVID and e-commerce just exploded, and you're still sitting on the sidelines. When is the right time to start? Right now. Don't hesitate. Don't wait. You'll never be in a situation where the timing's perfect. So if you're waiting for everything to fall into place and to have the time and to have the everything in place, that time's not going to come. What you got to do is just get started. Find some products, build a website, get your payment set up, get your deliveries in place, register with uAfrica, do what you need to do so that you can get in the game. My grandfather used to tell me, like, you're never going to catch any fish if you don't have a line in the water. I'm still not a good fisherman, but it goes to say that when you are trying to sell online, you got to have your website up. Then get those first 800 customers, get them on the site, start getting those sales, start learning about digital marketing, join our community, ask your questions, and just get that momentum going. This is not the time where you need to be on the sidelines. If you've seen how much e-commerce has grown over the past couple of years, just imagine how much more it's going to grow. And if you're looking at it saying that it's too competitive, this industry is growing at such a rate, it's going to continue to expand. So this is not too late. This is the right time. Another analogy that I love is that, people often wonder, like, the analogy is like, when was the right time to plant a tree? Well, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. But if you didn't do that, then plant it right now. And, right now is the best time to start.
Absolutely.
Amazing. Cool. Thank you so much for the great session, Warrick. It was absolutely incredible to have you on board, and I'm sure a lot of people have got some great feedback and things that they can actually take into their workforce going forward. And I know that I learned quite a bit, and I'm pretty sure Danica has learned quite a bit as well. And yeah, definitely. And just
Awesome.
for the people who are watching today, thank you so much for joining. I will definitely send you guys a link so that you can rewatch this and rehash all the awesome questions that were asked, and also just the information that Warrick has given, especially the tips, so that you guys can take that into the future and start planning and, becoming e-commerce experts. That's what we're here for. But thank you so much again, Warrick. Hope you have an awesome evening, and thanks, guys.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me, and thanks for everybody who joined.
Cool. Bye, everyone.
Cheers, guys.